age is a number. It's a matter of number of candles on your birthday cake, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak. But when one is facing just a challenge, whatever that challenge is, it impacts the the whole network of
Mm-hmm.
individuals in your life.
Hey, this is Matt Helton with One Trust Home Loans, and this is the Serving Senior Podcast. Now, this is the podcast where we highlight those individuals and businesses that help seniors not just get by, not just survive, but thrive in retirement. And we have another one of those special guests today. We have Miss Erin Keogh-Rankin. She is a client care manager for Arosa. And she helps seniors navigate those difficult situations along with their professionals and families. So you're in for a real treat. And Erin, thank you for being here.
Hey, Matt. Hi. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for working us in. Just so you know, to make our time, Erin was going 95 on the interstate to find a spot where she can pull over. So she risked life and limb just to be here with us. So Erin, thank you for working us in.
Don't you rat on me. Don't you rat at me. It was actually 80, but that's okay.
Okay,
That's
all
all right.
right. That's all right. We're all on the same page. We're all on the same page. Well, Erin, I know.
I'm
Well,
kidding.
yes, ma'am. Yeah, it was definitely 95. But moving right along, Erin, I know that a lot of people listening to this will know you and your background, but some won't. So I'd love to hear, how you got into the senior industry, but maybe before that, where you're from, what you've done in the past, and how you developed your passion for this business.
Sure, absolutely. I am a native Nashvilleian,
Nice. I finally
Nashville,
found you.
Tennessee.
You're the
Yeah,
one, huh?
I am the one. I'm the unicorn, right?
Okay.
Native Nashvilleian. Grew up here in Nashville, in the Nashville area, and spent 10 years of my adult life in Chicago,
Okay.
where I finished my undergrad at Loyola in Chicago
Oh,
in
nice.
organizational interpersonal communication. I returned to the Nashville area and actually just fell into the healthcare industry in business development. And I grew up with healthcare as far as I have family members that have been in healthcare. And my grandfather was the fire chief of Nashville for many years when I was
Oh,
growing up. So very familiar and comfortable. There was always at the holiday time an empty seat at the table because a loved one was out servicing the community. And so always had a passion and a service-minded servant's heart. And so it's just been a real honor to stay in the healthcare, but from a business development standpoint. And then that experience led me just really, I felt called to go into go to grad school in mental health counseling. And after that, I practiced for a few years with Family Children Service. Then a former client of mine in the healthcare industry and the senior living industry, because when I was in hospice, senior living communities, they were one of the key resources, so to speak. So the gentleman reached out and said, "Hey, would you mind coming back into business development and helping us out here?" So I did, and then fast forward, Arosa called. This was right during COVID situation, and Arosa was actually developing an integrated care management model. And so I said, yes, I would love to come on board with you all and work with you. So my initial role with Arosa, I served as a consultant, a care consultant, i.e. business development. And then soon thereafter, I'm like, I really want to be able to utilize my clinical skills as well. And so with that, I transitioned over to a care management role.
Okay. Nice. Maybe give some perspective behind what does if someone's trying to figure out what is care management. If you
Yeah,
broke it
it,
down to
it
layman's terms.
sure. And I would imagine a lot of your listeners, your viewers, everyone's familiar with, being in a hospital or visiting a loved one in the hospital, and prior to discharge, return home, wherever home is. You had an assigned case manager, an
Mm.
individual that would help coordinate the discharge plans and all. So that's a case manager within the walls of a hospital. And outside the walls of the hospital, that's what a care manager is. That's who we are. We help ensure that our clients, we try to prevent them from going back to the ER unnecessarily. And navigating and coordinating hospital or medical appointments, serving as healthcare power of attorney if it's deemed necessary and appropriate. So that's what a care manager does, and we specialize in working with seniors and adults with special needs.
Okay, nice. That makes sense. Kind of making sure the left hand's talking to the right hand, which we all assume that they are, but we've heard the horror stories, and I'm sure you could explain quite a few situations where they're not always talking.
Well, and not only that, Matt, but we also, there are a lot of family dynamics. Not everyone is on the same page as the client, him or herself, and well-meaning loved ones, sometimes they interfere with mom or dad's plan of care, and so it's good just to have somebody that's a third party come in and help mediate conversations and advocate for the client, advocate for mom and dad. So,
yeah, that makes sense. Well, I've seen you in action on stage speaking, so I know I know some of your superpowers and your talents, but I'd love for you to share, maybe personally what you feel are some of your superpowers, which will allow you to serve these clients at a high level, but also allows you to really hone in on this senior demographic that we're talking about.
Wow. Well, I appreciate the kudos, but let me just say, I'm a very faith-filled individual, so I know who my superpower is, right? But that being said, as I said, I grew up in healthcare. I have family members in healthcare, so I was very familiar with as far as servicing the needs of our community and our fellow brethren. But for me personally as well, my dad fell ill with heart disease when I was in my early 20s, and doctor gave him a year to live, and Daddy lived 10 months. And at that time, hospice wasn't even in the realm of possibility, because back in the 80s, hospice was reserved mainly for cancer patients. And so that was my first experience with, wow, healthcare as a whole, interacting with physicians, with surgeons, discussion of life and death and terminal illness. So I learned really, really quickly to rely on professionals that knew what they were doing, and then also relying on myself and the fact that become educated and learn the ropes, so to speak. And with that, I personally sought out some professional counseling for myself, because I recognized that this individual that had been in my life for 20 plus years was not going to be with me very much longer. So I needed to learn how to address that as a daughter, but also as an adult, a young lady. How can I live the rest of my life without this significant person in my life? And so I wanted to do it the healthy way. So I reached out to and had a healthcare, a mental health therapist walk me through that. And so I think, Matt, really that planted the seed, not even thinking many, many years later, decades later, that I too would heed that call and be able to pay it forward to others in need. So
that's great perspective. And, those clients and patients that you deal with, I'm sure they feel that you've been there, that empathy that you've been there, where they're coming from really comes across. So I'm sure that's important to them.
Well, I appreciate that, but everyone's journey is uniquely their own. And so I would never, ever pretend, and say, I know exactly how you feel. All I can share is, my own experience, and if they're willing to let me walk alongside them along their journey through as they age, as they experience various losses, whether it be loss of a job, and we're talking seniors now. Oftentimes our clientele, they are 50 plus, right. And so individuals that have learned, experiencing the loss of a job, the loss of financial security, loss of purpose. Let's say they're retired. So they still, you have this desire, you have this vision of what retirement is going to look like. And sometimes it doesn't always look like the way that we envision. Sometimes it could be a lot better, but there are times, more often than not, unfortunately, where it's a little bumpier than we had anticipated. So that's the beauty of having a care manager, a professional, some individuals that walk alongside you and kind of, lighten the load, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we've all been there, every situation in life. But man, I wish I had somebody with me, or I wish I had somebody to help, or I wish I had somebody understood where I was coming from. And that's especially in this time of their life, if they're a senior, they're having challenges, to have someone like you is probably priceless.
Yeah, but Matt, it's not only the client, him or herself, it's also, their adult children, the grandchildren, because age is a number. It's a matter of number of candles on your birthday cake, so to speak. But when one is facing just a challenge, whatever that challenge is, it impacts the whole network of individuals in your life.
Yeah.
And so with Arosa, I mean, that's our role. We just help elevate the care that these individuals deserve and they have earned. And so we want to be a part of that.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, maybe share a little bit more about how you help the patient, the families, but also too, even you could highlight on maybe some ways that you like to get out and help in the community as well.
Yeah. Well, with out in the community, of course, it's all about resources. It's all about, who does what, the specialty areas. Let's say, for instance, there's elder law attorneys that we partner with. An individual, a client, they may not yet have their estate in place, their will in place. So we help navigate that conversation and help ensure plans are in place, so there are no surprises. Even from a healthcare standpoint, their living will. Now, we with Arosa, we do not partake in any of their financial. We do not serve as financial power of attorney. There is a clear delineation between the healthcare power of attorney and financial power of attorney. So what we would do, if I knew that there was not a financial power of attorney in place, then of course I would direct them to a financial planner and advisor who can assist and serve in that role. We find that oftentimes with we have referrals from individuals that are trustees, as far as like banks and all, that are serving as the trustees, and trustees reach out to us because they have a client whose loved one is no longer alive. I'm thinking specifically, Matt, about, we have special needs clients or clients that are special needs adults. So they need an healthcare advocate, somebody to be their conservator. So we serve in that role. We as Arosa, so not myself as an individual, Erin Keogh-Rankin, but Arosa as a whole. So we serve in that capacity.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah. And it is one. It's great to advocate, to be able to advocate for our clients. I can share with you that I've had a special needs adult whose both parents, mom had since passed, dad diagnosed with Alzheimer's, was in a community. Unfortunately, he has since passed as well. But, my client went to the emergency room, and I met the client at the ER, and the doctor was, saying he's safe to be discharged back to his residence. And I said, doctor, with all due respect, no, my client is not safe. And he has a history of this, and this. And I really believe that he needs an admission, a psych eval, and hospitalization, and wherein I can plan for a group home setting. Wow. And that's eventually what happened. However, I guess the doctor thought that I would just I'll leave and come back, and 4 hours later, well, it was 8 hours later, and I stayed until I saw my client being discharged from the ER holding room to the transportation to head to a hospital in Memphis.
Mm.
So you do what you have to do for your client.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's a great story. That's why I made the joke about you driving 95, because I know you wouldn't do that, and you're so responsible and such a on top of things person that was my version of a joke, because that's something that you wouldn't do because you take such good care of people and the public and the people around you. So that's a great
Yeah.
story, and thank you for sharing
Well,
that example.
yeah, of course. And I appreciate that, but it's a team effort. With Arosa, my colleagues, nurses, social workers, counselors, physical therapists, what have you. And then on the flip side with Arosa, Matt, we have the non-medical piece, the caregivers.
Mm.
So it really is a team approach that
Mhm.
we approach with our clients. So when in doubt, I check it out and we rely on each other. We confer with one another. Am
Okay.
I missing something? What could I have done differently? Or is there something I'm missing and I need to pursue X, Y, and Z a little further with,
Hmm.
this position or what have you? So,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
I appreciate the kudos, but it's a team effort.
That's great. Well, maybe could you share another example of where you got into a situation, things weren't going very well, with a patient or client, and you and your team were able to help improve their situation?
Well, I could say that I'm thinking of this particular client that I was just referencing, and when his dad was still living, my client made the comment he hadn't seen his dad in months. And keep in mind, my client is a special needs, so intellectually he wasn't 100%, but yet cognizant enough to know that he was missing his dad. And so I conferred with my colleague who also was responsible for my client's father. And so we coordinated a FaceTime visit with one another, because it wasn't going to be conducive for either her client nor my client for them to be in the same space, just because of circumstances emotionally where they both were cognitively. But FaceTime, well, and not only that, Matt, they were, an hour and a half distance from one another. So we made it work with FaceTime, and it was just a beautiful exchange to know that you had two individuals, two grown men, who at one point in their lives were very connected, but due to life and cognitive dissonance, I mean, they could recognize one another and have their own unique way of communicating with one another, and both reassured, that they were still safe and still good.
Mm.
And it was just a really wonderful thing to witness. And that was a team approach where it's just like, I have a client that has a need, and we can meet that need. So it was
What a great
sweet.
story. Yeah, what a great story. Yeah, I think we all think in our mind, right, to have a great experience, you need to spend a bunch of money, you need to do these big, huge things. And literally, by you and someone else orchestrating a FaceTime conversation, you put a smile on someone's face and change their perspective, hopefully, not just for the day, but for days on end. You helped them out just by orchestrating something that didn't cost a single penny.
Not a single penny.
Just being thoughtful.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to put yourself in their situation.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty neat. Well, Erin, maybe you could share some resources with us, with our listeners. When you meet a patient, whether it's their family or whether it is the patient directly, is there any resources that you lean on that you recommend to people?
Well, it depends on what the situation is, right? Oftentimes we receive phone calls wherein, let's say it's a couple, an elderly couple, one spouse has been diagnosed with dementia in general, but let's say Alzheimer's specifically. The husband is the one that's serving as the caregiver, the primary care partner. He's worn out. He himself is starting to experiencing some health challenges. So they will reach out to us to assist with caregiving, the non-medical piece. Let's come in and provide respite for 4 hours or what have you. So the husband can go out and play a round of golf or be a part of the men's support group where at his church or what have you. Or the caregiver, our caregiver, can go and do the grocery shopping, running the errands, things like that that can provide some respite. That speaks volumes. But let's say that the physician has phoned us and they just saw this client, this couple. So they have shared with the couple, I have a great company that I, partner with, or they're a great resource. They have care management. They also have non-medical caregivers available. Do you mind if I give them a call and have them reach out to you? And because from a care management standpoint, what we can do as care managers is help that husband. We can take husband and wife to the next medical appointment. If the husband is thinking, I'm not getting all of the information the doctor is providing me at this visit, then we as care managers can literally sit in on that appointment with him and basically be the extra set of eyes and ears and hands and feet, right? And it always helps to have that extra set of professional ears hearing the message, and then just put it in layman's terms, what is taking place and what is the plan of care? What's the next step? Now, if I find out that our client, let's say, is having challenges managing their checkbook, well, of course, there are resources, right, like yourself, then we're going to make a suggestion. Or if I find out that they do not have, they need to update their will, and I'm not talking about just their living will, but also their estate will, then we will reach out to attorneys, estate attorneys and all that specialize in elder law care, and then we'll make those recommendations.
Wow, that's great. Well, I might need to bring you to my next doctor's appointment, because as it usually goes, I go to the appointment and my wife asks me what they said, and I mumble and grumble, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to translate to her. So I could probably use you.
Yeah, hey, I'm more than happy, but I have a feeling your wife would be the preferred person in that room with you. But yeah, not a problem. I'll be more than happy to help you in whatever capacity we can do that within reason.
I'm sure though on a more honest level though, but I'm sure you have those seniors that live in Middle Tennessee that the family's somewhere else and they're getting about 20 to 25% of the story. That's where something you could go to be that care manager, to go see the doctor, translate to the family, and kind of coordinate all that. I'm sure you're in that situation quite often.
That is exactly right, Matt. I have a client right now. She's currently at a senior living community. The daughter resides in California, so I am like the daughter by proxy, so to speak. And so I have weekly visits with my client at the senior living community. I attend the care plan meetings that are held on a consistent basis. My client actually we're prepping her for surgery. And so I've been doing the legwork and coordinating with the surgeon's office, the senior living community, the memory care director, that team there, and then also relaying that information to the daughter. Meanwhile, the daughter is still healthcare power of attorney, but I'm boots on the ground here. So we're in constant communication. Some individuals, Matt, have likened care management to like being a quarterback. I liken it to being an air traffic controller.
Okay.
Right? Because an air traffic controller, I could say that because my brother-in-law has since retired, but he was an air traffic controller. But up in the tower, you have a lot of things going on, and you see things that people on the ground are not aware of. And so as a care manager, having the resources and kind of behind the scenes things, I can kind of help navigate and try to I don't have the glass, the crystal ball. We don't have the crystal ball, but we can help negate unnecessary bumps in the road, unnecessary surprises. Yeah. So that's our role. We want to make this transition as smooth as possible. So, hey, trust me, getting older is not easy. And for years, Matt, I'd heard, getting older is not for the faint of heart. And that is so true. No pun intended. I mean, truly, you have to continue to take care of yourself as you get older.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's a great role to play, just because not, you would think, we all think that, right, once we do something with a doctor, it goes into the system and every other doctor is alerted. And when you go from doctor to doctor, everyone knows what's going on. But as you well know, and I think the world's starting to learn, that the systems don't talk to each other. And that's what you are. You can be that system for the patient. So, you know, the full 360
That
degree
is true.
situation.
Right. And that's where our nurse care managers come into play too, from a medication management standpoint. That's very helpful. But let me just say, kudos to the men and women, the doctors, the nurses, all of the individuals, the therapists, every individual within a hospital or healthcare setting. Everyone is doing the best they can, especially since COVID. We're all still trying to pick up the pieces and making the best of a crummy situation. We've learned a lot. But again, I think that's really enhanced the care that Arosa provides via the integrated care management model, because we rely on our caregivers that are in the home with our clients to be our eyes and ears when we as care managers are not there, and vice versa. So it really can be and is a beautiful model when it's worked well. And, you know, and again, like yourself, we reach out to resources. We do not claim to be a one size fits all. We are not that way. We customize our care plan according to what the client's need is. So.
Yeah.
And it's very fluid, right? I mean, it's very fluid. It can change from week to week, depending on what transpired. A client may have, recently had a fall coming out of rehab. And so the care plan prior to rehab is going to look very different in 3 months now. So we have to work accordingly.
Yeah, completely makes sense. You know, that's what we like to do, is the way we feel as well, is assess the situation and give the proper advice. So we, just like you know, it doesn't matter what our objective is or our plan, it's what the client's plan is. So, you know, where we come in as a resource, we'll look at their situation and analyze, would it make more sense, you know, financially. Not everything you've mentioned is covered by insurance, right? Not everyone knows that, especially the in-home care, the non-medical piece is normally out of pocket unless they have the long-term care. So we'll come in and analyze, would it make sense to do a home equity line of credit, have to pay monthly payments? Would it make sense to do a 30-year fixed regular mortgage and make the payments, or would it make more sense to try the new and improved reverse mortgage that's taken over by FHA, where you don't have to make a monthly payment, but most people don't know that you still own your house and your kids can still inherit the house. So it's funny, we deal with that quite often when people say, well, what's that loan you're talking about where there's no monthly payment? And then I'll explain to them, say, well, that sounds good, I'll do that one, but I don't want a reverse mortgage. And then I'll explain to them, well, that's the new iteration of a reverse mortgage. You know, you still own your house, you still just have a lien on title, but you don't have to make a payment if you don't want to. And then you can afford to pay someone like Erin's company to have a caregiver come in and stay with you 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day so you don't get hurt.
That's exactly right. And it's a continual educational opportunity for all of us when we are working with seniors, with families. And, you know, kudos to you and to your team, because when you're talking about an individual's finances, that is a very personal thing. I mean, talking about an individual's health, that's very personal. And likewise, so is a financial, very personal. So I know you don't take it for granted. It's an honor to be in this individual's life. And so we hold that very, very, it's a sacred space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Erin, if someone's watching and they maybe what you do maybe not be something that can help them immediately, but they may know other people in their life or other people in the senior living world, I guess, what would be a good person to forward this video or the audio to? Like, where do most of your referrals, I guess you could say, of your patients that you meet, where do most of them come from, so they could maybe find some good contacts for you?
Great question. They come from word of mouth. from,
Okay.
their neighbors, the people at the country club, their golf club, the bridge club, but also the physicians. So I certainly would encourage them forward this to their church members. Anyone that if they have a loved one that's experienced frequent hospitalizations, they're alone now, they're widowers, frequent falls, anybody that's in a vulnerable situation, they can reach out to us, with Arosa. I mean, we are 24/7. We are nationwide. Here in the Middle Tennessee area, we have offices in Brentwood, Murfreesboro, Shelbyville, and Clarksville. But you can give us a call. May I go ahead and give the number?
Go ahead.
615-595-8929.
Okay.
You call that number, and regardless of which office we're in, we'll connect you to the right office, to the appropriate party.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And what, how far do you go out? What counties all do you touch?
Oh my goodness. Again, so we're in the Middle Tennessee area. So we'll go as far as, in Shelbyville. We'll go into Tullahoma, that area. I'm thinking in Clarksville, of course, they cover Ashland City, the Cheatham
Okay.
County, Dixon area. And in our Brentwood office, we'll go up as far north as far as into the Sumner County, and then Murfreesboro is the Rutherford area. So Lebanon, we'll go where the client needs us. Now, that being said, if for whatever reason, due to the time or due to the circumstances, it's in a crisis and whatever, we're fully booked, which is a great dilemma to be in, we have wonderful partners that we collaborate with. We are all in this together. Competition is great, Matt, but collaboration is even better when you have the client at the center of that need.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to be able to accommodate and fill that need. So we will make the appropriate calls, and we'll help you find the right fit and get those needs met.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. It's all about teamwork, and as long as you keep the main thing, which is the patient or client's health, it'll all work out for you in the end, right?
That's exactly right. We're here to help, not to hurt.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, fantastic. Well, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
No, I think you've done a great job, and I appreciate you asking and being curious about what Arosa does and how we can help others in need. So thank you.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for being here. Hope to have you back in the future, and hope to see you out at the next networking event sometime soon.
Out and about, hitting the road. That's right.
Yeah.
Helping others in need.
That's
right.
so cool.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Erin. Yes, ma'am. And thank you for watching the Serving Senior Podcast, the podcast where we highlight people like Erin that help seniors not just get by, not just survive, but thrive in retirement. So thanks again. Talk to you soon. Hey, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, home of Retirement Mortgage Solutions. And we really do appreciate you checking out the Serving Seniors podcast today. Now, please go to the description down in the body of the podcast where you can subscribe to get future shows. Please click that notification button so you get notified when other shows drop. And also, if you can go to servingseniourspodcast.com, and we'd love to hear a comment about our show. We have a heart to serve seniors, and we have a heart to make sure seniors don't just survive retirement, don't just get by in retirement. We want to show seniors how to thrive in retirement. So if you know of anyone that's 55 and older that could use some extra cash flow, maybe the retirement's not going the way that they like, our retirement mortgage solutions are designed for folks, depending on the state, they're either 55 or 62 and older, to make sure that they have that kind of retirement that they want. As long as they own a home and they're in a good equity position, there could be some solutions that they may not have thought about, or maybe they've thought of and they just didn't know how they work. That's what we do. So anyone in that age group that could use some mortgage advice, my team and I would love to be able to help them. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a great day.